Here we are. Welcome into another edition of Beyond the Arc. It's a Friday, which means the weekend is here. The energy is good, and Brad Bakken and I get to chop it up, talking some hoops in a little bit. We'll get into who has the most to lose in this upcoming sort of playoff run, and for their future GMs, coaches, a host of people. We'll do team of the night, and I may give Brad a slight warning, just an ever so slight level of confidence on our impending tennis match later in the show. Yeah, it's coming. I'm just whatever. We'll see if we get there. Last night's Warriors-Lakers game, showcase of two teams that have been, I think rightly so, Brad, markedly more legitimately in the championship or at least relevance conversation since the trade deadline. Obviously, Luka is a Laker. Jimmy Butler is a Warrior. And at least for me, the reality of how those teams have changed since February 6th trades deadline played out yesterday. I think the Lakers are really good and have a high ceiling. I think the Warriors are legit contenders right now, and they have shown that over a huge sample size. That's my takeaway. How do you feel about Steph's 37? Jimmy Butler, maybe the box score was quiet, but his game was not. He's such an impact player in the way that he and Steve Kerr talked about this, elevates everybody around him. I know you're a Warriors fan, so you're seeing this from a more passionate perspective. Mine's a little more sort of neutral. But are you with me that if it's not the Thunder, the Warriors are probably the team to bet on in the Western Conference?
No, I can't quite get there. No, I can't quite get there. I think they're just in that group of teams that, are below OKC, I think, considerably. And I don't know if considerably might be too much.
I don't know about considerably either.
Below. They're definitely below. And I think there's those Denver Warriors, Lakers. I still think the Rockets are better than you do. I think that Minnesota is probably the team to watch here. I think Minnesota is really good, and we saw that the other night against Denver. Julius Randle's playing fantastic. So we could go into all these teams. I just believe they're all flawed.
Quick data counterpoint about why I think last night's game is more than just a one-off. And by the way, everything is so bunched up, this could change. But right now, it would also be the opening round series. It would be Lakers. If it were today, it would be Lakers hosting the seventh game if it went that far in the first round against the Warriors. Since the trade deadline, the Warriors are second in wins with 20. They are the sixth best offense and the fourth best defense over that stretch. And that is a 25-game stretch, which is statistically relevant. Jimmy Butler is 20-4 when he is in the lineup, and he and Steph are 19-2 when they play together. So those numbers are Oklahoma City, Cleveland Cavalier, Boston Celtics numbers. What those three teams have done over the course of the year, the Warriors have done over a very significant sample size since they got Jimmy Butler. Why not offer up the reality or the perspective that Golden State, this new version, has separation from the Lakers, from the Nuggets, from, I think, a Houston team that's too young? I'm with you on the Timberwolves, and there's some stats you can sort of look at patterns there. I'm shocked by your unwillingness to see Golden State for what they have been for a huge stretch. Brand new team.
They are. They're clearly much better, but it doesn't mean we have to say that they're like the top contender. They went from hanging by a thread to make play in.
Different team.
They are, but I'm not taking away credit. They're a significantly different team than they were. I just don't think they're in OKC's class.
Now, I'm not saying Oklahoma City. I'm asking you if it's not Oklahoma City. Well, you're saying they're in the same bunch with everybody else.
I do, yeah. I think if the Lakers and Warriors end up playing each other, there's no way in anyone's right mind that series should be heavily favored one way or the other. It's going to be like probably a 7. Some series go 6 or 7, but it's going to be one of these nail-biting series that's going to be bet at like minus 125 and plus 110. It's not this look. Luka had a terrible game last night.
Again,
the Warriors are not, I don't think, equipped, and I don't think many teams are equipped to defend the Lakers when they're in their highest gear. They weren't in their highest gear last night, so the next time they play, they might be. and Brandon Podziemski might not make 8 3-pointers, a 35% or 34% 3-point shooter. Jimmy Butler might not get away with taking 7 shots. He's being very
Austin Reeves may not score 30. We can play that. We can play that game.
Hey,
He's a great player.
I believe in Austin Reeves redoing what he does a lot more than what I do. But
Jimmy Butler might not just take 7 shots in the playoffs. We can play this game all day.
We can. And so I'm saying, like, to go off last night's game. And second of all, my opinion is the data that you cited would be it's more games, but it's eerily similar to what we all did when they were 12-2 to start. Look, this stretch of schedule has been easy.
Except they didn't have Jimmy Butler.
You've got about 3 games. I know, but I'm saying you've got
come on.
To just go off of wins, though, you have to be careful. They've had about 3 games in this whole run that you can draw any sort of playoff conclusion about, any at all. The other ones
is last night's a game we can draw a conclusion on.
Big win against Memphis, big win against the Lakers. There's one more in there that they beat the Knicks.
Didn't they beat the Thunder? They've been great against the Thunder this year.
No, they didn't beat the Thunder. They beat the Knicks without Brunson. The Milwaukee game was, but it's the Bucks, but it was a nice win. But again, you've got to be like completely neutral about this stretch of schedule.
How are you sleep? Here's my thing I don't understand. And by the way, the Lakers over the same stretch are since they got Luka, since the trade deadline, are 17th in offensive rating, 15th in defensive rating. It's not like they're setting the world. They're good, but there's not like they're setting. They were good before Luka showed up. I don't understand how you're sleeping on Steph Curry. It's not as if Jimmy Butler came into a team with, some nice players. It's not the Miami Heat 2.0 out west. Steph Curry's on the team. He's got 52 points and 37 points in his last couple games. You, of all people, should know he's one of the best players in the history of the sport and obviously the second best of his generation. And so it's not like a random team that's playing well. It's a Steph Curry team that's doing everything else well. Draymond Green has gone from being, kind of in the mix to being the defensive player of the year to the betting favorite. Whatever, you go through the whole thing. I'm shocked by your reticence to just say what I think is obvious. The Warriors are awesome with Jimmy Butler, and they're a threat.
They're definitely a threat. I don't think
they're the threat after the Thunder.
Okay, well, I disagree on that. I don't think that you can draw as definitive of conclusions as you are off of a stretch of schedule that's super, super soft. That's what I'll say. So they're considerably better than they were. There's no question. They've elevated in. I'll give you a contender status. They weren't even close to that before. So the jump is significant. I'm not taking anything away from it. It's just I think you're leaping too far.
I heard John and I did a draft earlier this week on the pod on who we think would win the NBA championship. So obviously off the board in this order went Boston, Thunder, and Cavs. After that, John took Denver, I took the Warriors. If you're doing this draft and the big 3 are off the board, who are you drafting before the Warriors in either conference?
That's where it gets like I just have a group. I don't think anybody stands out.
But if you're doing the draft, if you have to rank them, if you had done that episode.
Yeah, the Warriors. It would be the Warriors or the Lakers, I think. Okay. It's just that I really truly don't think. I'm not arguing that you think it's the Warriors. I'm just saying I don't think it's this clear. I think they've elevated themselves to this tier. It's sort of like the MVP tier. It's super, super clear. You can have. It sounds like you can have whoever you want at 3rd and 4th.
Sounds like we both have them at the top of the tier. I feel like we're saying the same thing. I'm not anointed. I think that you're right. I'm not as high in Houston. I think if you include the Thunder, obviously they're the favorites. I think there are 7 teams that can make the NBA, that you can make a case can make the finals. And you brought up the Timberwolves. I'm with you, man. They're playing amazing. They were 11-3 in March. It's the best March they've ever had. Anthony Edwards is going to that place that he goes to. I think this is who he is when it matters most. Julius Randle, who we have made fun of, John and I have been really good. Make a case for the Clippers if you want to believe in. I'm with you. But I think in a very competitive Western Conference where and for me, Houston's too young. They're good enough. They're not experienced enough. I think they're going to lose in the first round. We'll see the matchup, but I'll probably take somebody else. I think the Warriors are the top of a really impressive cluster, and it's not a shot at the West. I think it's a compliment for how good the Warriors suddenly are.
Yeah, I understand the sentiment. I'm very excited. I'm cautiously optimistic as a fan. Objectively, I just think that they are a good but flawed team. I think that they have. I have reservations about thinking that what they're doing can hold up playing this small for that long. That you going to me making it to it, and I know they've won by playing small all these years, and that's been their closing lineup, and they lean into it, and they're very good at it. And Jimmy Butler fits that terrifically. But same as the Lakers, it's hard for me to believe you can go through in the way the game's played today, go through, win 4 rounds against the best teams in the world with Jackson Hayes and Quentin Post as your centers. I think they're going to have to play small too much. I think there's places to hunt. We saw Steph getting hunted last night, and it was working early. They were going to Rui. They're going down into the post to Luka. And they're having to double, and they're kicking out the open threes, and it works. So, yes, the Lakers end up losing the game because, some guys that are going to have better games than they had last night didn't have great games. But there's things they can go to in a series, the same way that the Warriors can go to the Lakers not having a center, and the Nuggets can't play defense. And I don't know if Julius Randle can keep doing this in the playoffs, and can the Minnesota Timberwolves muster up enough offense. I think these are all good but flawed teams. And it's going to be so matchup dependent that taking a sample size when they've been playing the Magic and the Pistons and whoever is not indicative.
For 4 years, I've been reading your very effusive coverage of the Warriors, and I'm stunned that we finally got to a point where it is worthy of the love, respect, and shine you rightfully often send their way. And you're just like, I'm just, all right. I mean, you make great points. I love it.
They're good. They're not great.
Yeah, I mean, I think, maybe. I mean, if they're good and not great, then every other team in the East, other than 2 of them, suck, by the way. I would take so many Western Conference teams over the Knicks and all the teams below. I mean, I think really good but not great might be the happy compromise. But it's semantics.
Really good. I could get to really good. Yeah. Now, look, if the matchups are a lot of this, Bill, right? So, like, if
they are
somehow OKC loses, like right now it's the 4-5, they're going to see OKC in the second round. I don't like that. So you squeak. This Warriors team taking out the Lakers and the Thunder in multiple series back to back is highly.
They'll beat the Lakers. They'll beat the Lakers.
You're saying that way too easily. Way too.
You're saying you're saying it not easily enough.
No, I'm just saying I don't think they would win. It'd be very close. But even if they did, they're probably going out in the second round. As the matchups go right now, that's it.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong on that. But I'll tell you this: the Thunder don't want to play the Warriors. They don't want to play. But here's the thing: you don't play any of these teams other than the Rockets. For me,
exactly.
All of these. I mean, the West is great.
Memphis is producer everyone wants. Like everyone thinks they're a mess. And the Warriors needed 52 and 12 threes from Steph to squeak past them. They're legit. So it's everyone has these ideas of like
all these teams are legit.
They're all dude. It's gonna be. I just don't think you can take any one of them and say they're the team. It's this awesome group of teams.
You can literally take every team in the top 8. And you can make a not ridiculous, actually compelling case. This team can make a conference finals at minimum, right? And if you're on the other side of the bracket from the Thunder, it's easy. But there's 8 of them, so there's 7 teams that aren't It's the Western Conference playoffs are going to be the most fun that I can remember.
And that's where I'm at. And to me, that's like a huge thing that the Warriors are now in that group. Like
I'm not saying the Warriors feel
that group. Like I love that they're in the group.
But, dude, that's a group of 7 teams, we agree, that can make the conference finals or better. And what I'm just saying is if you're the top of that group, that's impressive. That's the Warriors. And I think they are for you, too. After the Thunder.
You can ask me on different days. I swear. You can ask me on different days. Like, I think Minnesota is nasty. And they're, like, probably going to be a play.
I do, too.
So it's like, I think the Clippers are nasty. Kawhi Leonard is.
Oh, yeah.
With him playing, like, we could go.
I'm with you.
That's my general sentiment. Is like
we'll do that next Friday. Maybe next Friday we'll make the case for every team in the West to win the whole thing.
Sure.
We could do it from 1 to 8. I think it. By the way, the Warriors, the Timberwolves just keep winning and they can't get out of the play-in. And I think the Warriors are the team to beat after the Thunder. Obviously, if they lose a couple games, they could be in the play-in. I mean, that's how incredibly compelling this is, right?
Yeah, it's exactly the Warriors. We're talking about like going to the finals here, and they're one game away from having to play the Timberwolves in a play-in game. So it's
by the way, the Mavs can't win or compete in the 7-game series, I don't think, against most of these teams, but they can easily beat anybody if they win their game against the Kings in the 9-10. So if you're in the play-in, you could lose. Anybody can beat anybody, but Anthony Davis has a big game and they're healthy and they play great defense. It's a minefield.
Imagine this gauntlet if Kyrie Irving was healthy.
Kyrie it's such you're right.
It's like, oh my God, this is if there was ever a year to have the conversation to get rid of conferences and go 1 through 16. I mean, this is so lopsided, and it has been for so long.
I like conferences.
This is crazy. This is crazy.
Dude, and by the way, Phoenix is a dumpster fire floating down a flooded river, but they shouldn't be. And can you imagine if they were good?
Yeah. But even as a dumpster fire, like one game against Durant, one game.
You're right. If they were in the play-in, you're right. No, that's fair. You're right. All right, producer Aaron has a really cool idea. I'm excited about this. We're going to do which people, teams, GMs, players, whatever, cities have the most to lose in these upcoming playoffs. As we walked you through, it's very compelling in the Western Conference. Not as compelling in the East, but the stakes for teams that could be underwhelming or not do well are certainly compelling. We will do that in a moment next here on Beyond the Arc.
Seventh heaven for Houston. The Duke Blue Devils come out of the East. The Gators are going to the Final Four. The storybook season continues.
Florida Auburn, Houston Duke, the Final Four. Saturday on CBS and streaming on Paramount Plus.
All right, welcome back into the show. I got so excited talking to my guy, Brad Bakken. I forgot to tell you to hit the like button, leave a comment on something Brad and I are talking about, subscribe on the YouTube channel. There's a little bell there you can hit to the notifications button to sort of know what we got going on. Please give us a 5-star review and tell your friends how great the show is here on Beyond the Arc. So, man, I love this time of year in the NBA. So, all right, let's get into this. Let's just go through, and if you want to go for, I've got a bunch, but who for you, there's several that stick out for me, has the most on the line for either massive success or disappointment in these upcoming playoffs?
And it's interesting, when I saw this question, it's interesting that you have a lot. The first thing that popped into my head was that there actually aren't a lot of teams that are in like do or die right now. I'm used to a team that made like
really.
I would say those teams were the Suns and the Sixers, and they're already done. That they went total do or die. And they've died. But the teams that are in there and players that are in there.
All right, can I give you mine? And you can respond?
Yeah.
You tell me if you think. All right, so I'm going to hit a couple people. I think John Horst, the GM of the Milwaukee Bucks, who, by the way, I really like and I think is good at his job. I think he's got a ton on the line. And I think whatever happens with and the reporting out there on Damian Lillard is exactly what I reported on HQ when this came down, that there is some real cautious optimism that Lillard, with his blood clots, and he's obviously not available right now, will be able to play much sooner than, say, Victor Wembanyama, of course. This year, playoffs, there's some hope that can happen. I don't think it matters in the sense of whether Horst is blamed or not. Horst is the guy a year and change ago who blew up the Bucks, who moved on from Drew Holiday, obviously shipping him to Portland for Lillard. Obviously, Drew eventually ended up in Boston as a big part of that team's success last year and how good they are this year. And this connects to Giannis, because there is Milwaukee people get so pissed off at me. There are still people chattering about Giannis. I don't know if you followed this and Giannis going other places. In other coverage now, in local beat writers coverage all over the country, which I try to read most days, Brad, people are talking about the hope internally, right? You'll be reading about Houston. You'll be reading about the Knicks, which I think is ridiculous. You'll be reading about even the Sixers, which is silly. And the local beat writers will slip in there. People are hoping think Giannis might be available if Giannis is available. I think if the Bucks just crash out again, which I think is the likely outcome, I think there's a lot riding on this for Horst and that entire organization with Giannis.
Yeah, but the Bucks I was going to mention them. The only reason that I don't think there's a lot of pressure on them is it's sort of like a sealed fate with the Lillard thing. Like, it's almost like people have completely given up on their prospects because, of the situation with Damian Lillard. It'd be surprising to me if he was back in the first round. But if he is, certainly doesn't seem like a team. They haven't shown the sort of cohesiveness or all the other elements that it would require to just flip a switch. So,
Well, to be honest,
he's not just going to come back and they're going to be firing. I mean, I think the Bucks are pretty done. So,
I think that is pressure. Let me cut, and I didn't even bring up Doc Rivers. There is a concern in Milwaukee that Giannis will ask to leave in the summer. If Giannis can go full, I mean, Giannis is the third best player on earth and should be the MVP if it weren't for these other two guys who are this ridiculously other level. He just had the first ever 35, 10, 20 night last night in the history of the NBA. Like, there's historic things left and right. I agree that the Bucks are done, but they don't want to give up the ghost. John Horst doesn't want to be fired. So I think there's a lot riding on.
I think they have pressure. I just think they're more like, I guess when I think pressure, I think like a team that has a legit shot and needs to take advantage of it. Like I just don't think they have. I think it's sort of inevitable. They're going to go out in the first, second round at most, and it's going to be exactly what you said. I almost think it's inevitable. The pressure, I think, started when they fired Griffin and brought in Doc, and I think the pressure the minute Lillard showed up, and then we kind of cast off last year, and it was injuries, and then we got Doc in there, and it's like they keep finding these ways to extend the shelf life of the optimism. But I think it's basically run out. The team is what it is, and I think we are going to enter into a summer. I think it's already over, I guess is my point. But if they could pull something off, then yeah. But I think the pressure is already passed because I think they're done.
And I agree, but they are. What has to happen? All right, so I think we both think that it's very likely Giannis will want to go somewhere else. Is that what you're saying? I think.
I just think that talk's going to heat up. I don't know Giannis. I just think that's going to get very.
I don't know Giannis either.
It's going to get very loud.
If you make a conference finals, if Giannis carries the Bucks past, whoever in the first round, and you get lowered back and you shock somebody, that's enough, right? All right, let me go to another organization. I mean, I think Zach. You got more? No. If you got more, I'm here for it.
Go ahead. I'll use it on a different team. Go ahead.
Zach Kleiman, I think, has a lot. I mean, riding on this. You fire your coach, and I know that Memphis won last night, and John Morant had his ridiculous. Did you see this step back winner over Khalil Ware, who's obviously like a super 7 foot tall dude. Whatever. That was the first game they'd won in 5 or 6 games. You're the GM in Memphis. You've got a top 10 offense and almost a top 10 defense. You've got a superstar in John Morant. You got Triple J playing really well when he plays, and you fire that guy. You fall to the play-in, which they're flirting with. You miss the playoffs. Hell, you got in the first round. I think you got a lot right now. I think you have a lot to answer for.
I agree with that one. Definitely. And it definitely, because I think the same things could start being, and we've sort of heard rumblings. You never know how seriously to take all this, but we've sort of heard rumblings of like, the anonymous GM come out. Me and Ashley were talking about that the other day. They said you can't build around John Morant, can't win a championship with him. I think that's going to start. We're like the honeymoon period of, again, sort of like the Bucks, where like the Grizzlies were the 2 seed, whatever it was, 2 or 3 years ago. They were like the team on the rise, and then all the jaw stuff happens, and they get really injured, and the honeymoon wears off. And then all of a sudden you're in the judgment zone. And you're right. If they flame out in the playoffs this year, I think there actually could be some talk about like, is Ja our guy? They got to figure out their next coach. It turns very quickly in the NBA from like up and coming, to, and we'll even do this with the Thunder. Like if you would say that the Thunder like aren't under any pressure because they seemingly have this super long.
They're on my list.
Long runway, but everyone, me and you, would be on if they somehow come on here and lose in the first round to the Wolves, or whatever.
Which could happen. Won't happen, but could happen.
Round to the Warriors, certainly could happen.
That
we will do this. My point is, it wouldn't be catastrophic. No one would be saying break the Thunder up or anything like that. But it turns very quickly, and I think it's turning for Memphis. Probably already has.
I agree. By the way, I've had 2. Just to put into context, the GMs who will tell you that, and I've no doubt it's true. I've had 2 GMs over the years, including one this year or this season, tell me that they think that about Luka Doncic. Just because one GM says it doesn't mean it's true, right? But it's an interesting. And I want to add John Morant to that because I don't want to dodge this story. Obviously, John Morant was hurt last year. He also missed time because of issues with guns and toting guns and accusations of having a gun with actual people and the gun on the video. And he did the finger guns with the Warriors the other day, was told not to do it, and then did it against the Heat. And they just came down with a $75,000 fine. I know he doesn't care. I know John Morant gives 0 Fs. But the reality is you can get away with things when you're massively talented that you can't if you're not. I think Ja's got some stuff to lose. If only in the more his star power is legitimate and legitimized by winning, I think the more he's going to get an easier more of a pass from the NBA. But if you just become another guy that just keeps losing in the play-in, this behavior is going to get punished more. I think Ja needs to actually accomplish something given his history with injuries and his history of just getting in his own way and his team's own way.
Yeah, I mean, I have, to this point have more leaned on the side of that they just haven't been good enough. And even this year, I think the talk, with Taylor Jenkins firing, and you're going to find out, we're hearing some reasons of why that happened. You're going to find out probably more when those retrospects done. But, Brandon Clark's been hurt all year. You lose probably your best sub, certainly your best sub big. John Morant's been in and out. Their record has been good. The problem is the record against the good teams, the above 500, it's paltry. So you're not going to beat we just talked about how good the West is. You're not going to beat those teams when John Morant's in and out of the lineup and Brandon Clark's not playing. You're losing that offensive rebounding and you don't have your big three together consistently. So, we did this. I remember we did this to Lloyd Pierce in Atlanta when they went on the run with Nate McMillan. They went on the run with Nate McMillan and it was like, oh, the new coach did it. It's like, no, I remember Bogdanovich, a bunch of guys were hurt all that time through Lloyd Pierce and McMillan got hired coincidentally when everybody got healthy and they went on a run. So there is
Lloyd Pierce got a bad deal.
Memphis just hasn't been healthy. But again, you can't have anything be wrong with you in this cluster of teams in the Western Conference. So, and people aren't reasonable when they talk about that. They don't do the full context thing and say, "Oh, Brandon Clark was out." What they're gonna do is, can you win with Ja? That's what they're gonna do.
Well, Ja's got to also stop doing finger guns and
stop.
Get out of your own way, man. Get out of your own way. I have one more person I think has a lot on the line. It's a surprise. It's a surprise person. So we'll do that, and we'll do Team of the Night next here on Beyond the Arc.
Guys, can you feel it? Legends were born here. History was made here. These are hallowed grounds.
Hallowed grounds? The NCIS squad room?
Well, I wasn't talking about that, but I was talking about Augusta National.
All right. It's finally time for the Masters. I hear it's a tradition unlike any.
We're back. Welcome back, Beyond the Arc. Brad Bakken. I'm Bill Ryder. Here's my last person, Brad.
Man, I love that ad, by the way, Bill. I always think it's Masters time. I'm so pumped.
If you're listening to the podcast, there's an ad that runs if you're not watching live on YouTube, which you should do, where it's the guys from NCIS, and they're basically it's hollow ground. Is it the NCIS lab? No, it's the Masters. The Masters is amazing.
Yeah,
all right, I got one more.
Masters, great time of year.
That's my bucket list. My bucket list is to get to a Masters someday. Are you a golfer? I'm bad.
I like to play golf.
I play.
Masters would be fun. No phones.
What do you shoot?
No phones.
I'm like a 92 to like a 105 kind of, but I drink a lot of beer when I play.
Oh yeah, I could if I play really good, I'll shoot 85, 84. If I play really bad, mid 90s.
Yeah, I can shoot 88. I've shot in 82. I've never broken 80. That's when I played a lot. All right. I've got one more person I think has a lot at stake. Bear with me on this. It's going to sound counterintuitive maybe at first. I think Kevin Durant has a ton riding on these playoffs that he'll be watching. Let's listen. That he'll be watching at home because I think the best place for Kevin Durant. I'm not sure it's true for this team, but I think the best spot for Kevin Durant. Because, dude, if Kevin Durant doesn't ever make a finals or win anything after leaving the Warriors, there's going to be a legitimate sort of narrative that he's not going to love. So the place that he can still go at his remarkable level that he retains is Houston. Houston goes out in the first round like a lot of us think. I think there is this impetus now for the Rockets to go, okay, we sort of kept it together. We wanted to see what we were about. We followed a similar path to the Thunder where like last year the Thunder didn't rush a trade. But we don't have an SGA. We'll have to unspool some guys. We'll have to give away some picks. It's worth it. Let's go get Durant. If the Rockets make a conference finals this year, they're the 2 seed, they make the conference finals, I think it's a very legitimate sort of conclusion by Raphael Stone, the GM, to say, you know what, we're on path. Maybe it's Amen Thompson. Maybe it's somebody else can emerge as our star. We've got time. We don't have to rush this. So I think for Kevin Durant, for me, for him to land what's best for Kevin Durant, he needs the Rockets to do poorly in the playoffs.
That's interesting. I like that line of thinking that you're going. It's sort of adjacent to him. It's out of his control, but he needs it to go his way. That's interesting. I would go. That's got me thinking. Our boy Nico. I bet you there's a part of him that's really hoping Luka doesn't go nuts.
You're right.
It won't validate the trade, even if they bow out the first round and Luka plays terrible. It won't. It's not gonna It's not gonna make it look like he did the right thing. There's no vindication here, but if Luka goes nuts and the Lakers go to the finals, that is the nail in the coffin of what
he done.
There's no way he's not secretly hoping that these stupid ideas that you can't win with Luka don't give some flowers, some fruit to bear. Because if he does what he's done in the playoffs in the past, and we're watching all these Luka moments, and the Lakers are in the conference finals and they beat the Warriors and they're
step backs to win game 7s.
So it's just, pull the plug. I bet you he's secretly hoping for a particular kind of Luka performance.
Yeah, he needs 6 of 17 and 0 for 6 from 3 4 times against the Warriors again, which is what he did.
He needs it bad, and it still wouldn't vindicate him, but it would.
No,
he sure would.
It'll buy him time, but it'll buy him time in his mind, right, to get Kyrie healthy. But they're going to make a run at Durant, although I don't. But that's a place that the betting markets like to a degree. Yeah, but if you're Durant.
I was just when you said that about Houston. Houston is the team that can give up.
That's the spot
that Phoenix would be interested in. They can give up enough youth and not have to deplete. They got Reed Shepherd and Cam Whitmore are barely even playing for them.
Guys that don't get minutes.
Those are two guys that a team would really love to get. So they can give that up and keep their core, and they would make a lot of sense. But say they can't get him, that's a whole nother podcast. Where does Durant end up? But you start looking at teams like Detroit. You start looking at teams like probably Memphis would try to get in. And I think the Mavericks were desperate enough to do that. Those are the types of teams you would start hearing about.
Who would you, if you're, and I know in Houston's case, you're so close, it's sort of fit dependent, but if you're Miami, if you're Houston, if you're a team that's not there yet, and I know Houston's much, much better than the Heat, who would you rather have? Kevin Durant for a couple years or Giannis longer term? If Giannis is available.
Oh God, Giannis. Giannis.
Right, me too.
Yeah.
Me too. So that's the other thing is I don't think it's going to come to this spot, but Milwaukee doing well enough that Giannis is not even entertaining leaving is advantageous to KD as well. KD he doesn't need to win a title for his legacy, but I don't know, man. You got to win some playoff series, right? You're going to choose to go. He chose to go to the Warriors. He chose to go to the Nets. He chose to go to Phoenix. He's going to get to have saying where he goes next or choose. And you chose to leave the Warriors. So in some ways it negates some of the he needs to win, man. Kevin Durant needs to win something next year, even if it's just you're the 2 seed with whoever you play with and you guys are really good and you barely lose in the conference finals to insert team. I think he's got a lot riding on next year, which is a different conversation. Yeah. All right, before we get to the team of the night, I'm just going to give you some facts. It's what it is, because you and I, you're like a semi-professional tennis player, and I'm just a guy, an amateur over here trying to grind. I did play a 4-0 yesterday, beat him 6-0, 6-1. So I'm just giving you
you're feeling yourself.
I'm feeling myself a little. This poor kid. He's young too. So when we play, I just want you to know I'm gonna bring it as best I can.
It's so windy here. Is it windy a lot?
Crazy windy here too. Never is, but it was yesterday.
It's like that across the country right now, and I'm always amazed. In golf, you hit the ball higher, so I guess it makes more sense. But I'm always amazed how much even just a little breeze. I'll throw my serve up, and by the time I go to hit the ball is like a foot.
The ball was snaking
where I threw it up. I'm like, what? It's just a little bit of wind, but it jacks everything up.
Here's what I'll say to you. What I would say to Zach Kleiman. What Vince Vaughn said to all of us. No excuses. Rule 32. No excuses, Brad Buchan. You know?
No, I would definitely not. If you 6'1", 6'0" me, there will be no excuse. There will be no excuse.
I don't think you're a semi-professional player.
Well, this is I've been wanting to ask because I'm fairly new to the game. Not new now, but to call it 5 years. I don't have I didn't play in high school like you or anything, so I don't know.
Right.
These levels are sort of a new thing to me. So when you said 4-0, I just thought I'm probably a little bit. 5 just seems a little bit better. It doesn't seem like
you're so full of shit, dude.
No, I'm saying it's 5.
You are insistent.
Honestly, is a 5-0 some sort of? You make it seem like it's almost pro.
I'm just saying when you said it, I had memories of LeBron going, I beat Jordan one-on-one when I was 4. So I will tell you this. I'm going to name drop. So Steve Nash spends some time playing tennis where I play. And I saw him and talked to him the other day. And he has been playing tennis for 5 years, right? And he started a little below my level, apparently got to my level. I wasn't playing there then. And I saw him play. Dude, he is extraordinary. I mean, he's a Hall of Famer. He's an amazing athlete. He's obsessed with tennis. He plays our local pro. Our local pro teaches there, beat Pete Sampras back in high school. And Steve beats this guy. And Steve is a 5-0.
What's that level?
That's a 5-0. He's a 5-0.
Okay, then I'm not a 5. I don't. Then that's not what I've played.
Now we walk it back.
But I'm saying a 5 to me. I've played 5s, and I swear levels are different everywhere.
You've not played 5s. Those guys are lying to you. Those guys are.
Well, maybe that's why I'm asking. I'm just going off of what I've seen from a 5 because the levels go up to 14, don't they?
No. You're thinking of something else. No.
I don't know. No, Jokic is not a 6, or not Jokic. Djokovic. Those guys are
we're going deep into the tennis.
So high.
A USTA rating is sort of like an earthquake rating. As it grows, it becomes more and more significant. Like a 4.5 is a 4.01 to a 4.49. And those are vastly different in just the decimals, let alone a 4.5 or 4.0 to a 5.0.
Well,
it's a big difference.
I just got to know what pros and college players are because I'm thinking those guys are 9s and 10s. It's not if those guys are 5.5, then no, I'm not a 5. But the range to me is to me 5 almost still sounded just like an amateur version.
You were so insistent on it. You were so
But I do believe I am a 5. I just don't think a 5 is as high as you're making it sound. I guess that's our numbers are just different. I would think if I was trying to say I'm awesome, I would say 8, 9.
Okay.
That's because there's
professional players are 13 to 16. You're right.
Exactly.
Are 13 to 16.
Exactly. So it's not like saying you're a 5 is saying you're putting it I said I was next level pro. It's not even close.
A 5.0 means you played in college. It means you're a former collegiate level player.
Okay.
Okay. You're not. Oh my God, you're ridiculous. Hold on. You think you're a 5-0, but you don't think the Warriors are the team to beat after the Thunder in the Western Conference. Let's take some of this.
Listen, I think you're making way too much of a 5-0. That's what I'm saying.
I think you're making way too little of a Jimmy Butler.
Okay.
Lean into the same kind of hopeful zeal you've applied to your own tennis game. Please.
I want to.
All right.
But I can't quite get there.
Oh boy. All right. I love your confidence. You have more confidence in you than Steph Curry, and I think that's very healthy.
I just don't think the 5 is that high. I really don't.
Yes, but I also think you don't know what you're talking about. It's maybe one of the small.
Maybe.
I don't know.
I know.
Or maybe
there's a kid in my community who's
okay.
I think he won, and this is what I go off of. I think he won. He won for the whole country of Columbia. He won the 14-year-old division. This kid is one of these kids that you
wow. That's pretty good.
After they've gone pro, you look back at their grainy clips on YouTube when they were a teen.
Right.
He's going to be one of these kids. He's really, really awesome. And he trains with this guy who used to play on the tour and I think got top 100 at one point. So we're always asking him, what level is this? What we always want to hit with this kid just to measure up against him. And he said this kid right now is a 9 to 9.5. So literally, when I say 5, I think almost half of this kid. So those
it doesn't work like that.
The real players, their numbers are so hhigh.
All right.
5 to me is not a high number. It's just to me.
All right. Look, if you're a 5-0, God bless you. You're going to kick my ass, and we'll come on here and we'll celebrate your excellence. Maybe we can do it, shortly after the Warriors championship parade this year. Who is your team of the night? That would be amazing. It's not impossible.
Well, we talked a lot about the Warriors, and we touched on the Timberwolves. So, I mean, I'll go back to the Timberwolves because I think there's a lot of there was a lot of juice behind the idea that they jumped the gun on the Cat trade for money reasons, that Julius Randle wasn't a fit, that the spacing was going to be terrible with Gobert and Randle, and you didn't know what you were going to get from shooting from Jaden McDaniels. And there was this idea that, like, Anthony Edwards is sort of just being squeezed by a team, almost figuratively and literally, by a team that was going to make him shoot a bunch of three-pointers, and he couldn't get to the rim. And there was all these problems with the Wolves, and the standings would seem to support that. You've seen them just kind of be lower tier playoff team to play-in team all year. And it seems like you can just take a glance at it and say the Timberwolves were a flash in the pan. They made a hasty trade in the offseason to screw up their spacing. They traded a Cat goes over to New York and has basically played the best basketball of his life. And there's all these easy bullet points to jump to and say, man, the Wolves really screwed the pooch. They had their moment and they let it fade out to, after 1 year. But then you kind of dig in and it's like,
I know
the defense is there. Randall's playing phenomenal. Anthony Edwards somehow, and even though the numbers didn't add up on Jokic's 61-point night, he was unbelievable down the stretch, hitting big shot after big shot to send one of the most thrilling games of the season into double overtime, where they eventually win. There are reasons to believe that the Wolves can do exactly what they did last year and end up in the conference finals. And now you've got one more year of Ant, one more year of confidence, one more year of ready to break through. I think them and the Clippers are really teams to watch that feel like also Rams, feel like afterthoughts. And I think they're right there with all these other teams we're talking about.
I mean, just to add to your point, that is a team that is top 5 offensively, 9th defensively. They have the 5th best, the Timberwolves, 5th best net rating. We'll do this. Let's do this next Friday if we remember. We can make a case for every team 1 to 8 why they can win an NBA title this year. I think you can make it. I think it's makeable.
There's a case to be made for, like you said. I mean, you could probably, one team. Bill, I would say when we talk about pressure, would you say the Cavs? Because
that's interesting.
Because Donovan Mitchell, if we're going to do this whole, like, can you?
I think it's Donovan Mitchell.
Then
I think it's his pressure. Yeah.
The thing is, they got him on the contract, so it's like there's not that lingering over them. Is he going to stay? And he seems happy. But
the pressure's on him.
To do the whole, can you win with this guy? They've got the best team. If they're ever going to do it, it's now.
Yep.
And it's like, I don't think Donovan Mitchell's never been to the conference finals, right? He's always been a great player.
He's had some great playoff games. He's had some bad play. And there's no excuse at a minimum to make the conference finals. I mean, can you imagine if Cleveland loses in the second round? I mean, there's zero excuse to make the conference.
And the Knicks have some, because, like, what if Lillard comes back and is healthy and the Knicks play the Bucks in the first round, and with all the money they spent on Bridges and all the draft picks, and so they could lose in the first round. I don't think they would, but if it went according to seed, the Cleveland should be in the conference finals. They would get the winner of Indiana, and who's the 5th seed? Oh, Detroit. Indiana,
Detroit, the Pistons.
Cleveland would get the winner of that. Yeah, you have to get into the conference finals.
Whichever. So, all right, let's add Donovan Mitchell to that list from earlier in the pod, and let's add Leon Rose, who's done a very commendable job as running the front office of the Knicks, formerly at CAA, was a big-time agent, was Cat's agent. But also, here's the other thing. If the Knicks were to lose early, and it's a big if, and Kevin Durant will, and Giannis Big If did become available, right? And you've already used your powder on Cat, the former client of the guy that runs the front office. I'm just saying that you said this narrative shift really quickly. My team of the night's very simple, very easy. We don't have to belabor it. We've talked. It's just the Warriors, and obviously I'm really high on what they're about and what they can do. Just it's a big win against the Lakers, and another big win just in the sense that, and now the Lakers are only, I think, a game up on Golden State in that 4-5 showdown.
But the
Warriors are not free.
They have the tiebreak,
Right.
so it's really 2.
But the Warriors are not. But the Warriors are not free and clear of that play-in. I mean, that was such a huge game, not for going up, just for not moving down.
And they're not getting easier.
They all are.
The next one is Houston and Denver. That's their next 2. So both teams fighting for seeding, and
crazy.
And the Warriors can't lose any of them. So this was a huge 4-game stretch: Memphis, Lakers, Houston, Denver, and they got the first 2. And it took unbelievable performances by Steph and Pods. I mean, the Warriors, one thing we didn't touch on, Bill, that's really, and Sam wrote about this last night, but like this whole 2 timeline thing, if you are a believer in the Warriors, which you are, and I am, but not to your degree, the reason is that we know what Butler is, we know what Draymond is, we know what Steph is, but these kids coming along, this 2 timeline thing actually converging, the way that Pods is playing, the way that Moody is playing, and the way that Kuminga looked last night, if they are going to make a run, it's actually going to be because of the young guys. We know the old guys. We know what they are. But the young guys have to play like they played last night. That it takes Pods playing great. It takes Moody.
But I'm with what Steve said. Kerr said. I agree, but Kerr said last night these things are happening because Jimmy Butler clarifies everybody's role.
Totally,
which is so funny. What do you mean it clarifies? Your job is to clarify. It clarified it for you, Steve. I mean, maybe you don't have 12 guys in your rotation, but regardless, I do think it's alchemy, right? It's Butler is this ingredient that I knew he was going to be good. I didn't know he was going to, in the mix, create this thing.
He really has a tie together effect.
He does. It's amazing.
But even if he's the source of it, the product is Pods, Moody, and Kuminga playing awesome. And,
right.
And that's what the Warriors banked on. They finally pulled the trigger that actually brought it out of them. And Pods has been playing good all year. Moody has too. Kuminga's up and down. He's been injured. So it's not like they were terrible and then Butler showed up and they completely flipped. But there is a sense now that those guys can be genuine playoff contributors in the sense that Jordan Poole was when they won. You know, everybody points to what Steph did, but Steph is always Steph. They won that title because of Wiggins and Jordan Poole. Okay, and if they win this year, Steph's going to be Steph, Butler's going to be Butler, Draymond's going to be Draymond.
You came around. I like your excitement.
Because of Pods and Moody and Kuminga.
I like your excitement. I like it. That is, all right, it's another edition of Beyond the Arc. We'll be back on Monday, and we've got a lot of bonus pods coming. We've got a pod not next. I should know this off the top of my head. I don't. I think next Tuesday night we'll be doing one. There's some really good games, so stay tuned for that. Just push the notifications button on YouTube, and you'll be able to see and know when we have all this extra content coming up. On behalf of NBA senior writer and semi-professional tennis player Brad Buckin, I am Bill Ryder, amateur tennis player, NBA insider. Thanks for being here. Thanks for listening. Thanks for hanging out. We'll see you back here on. We'll see you. I'm Mr. Humility, and we'll see you back here. So, that's how they know me. It's how people know me. We'll see you back here on Monday. Yep.